Good evening, afternoon, night, morning. We're trying to watch or listen to this podcast. This is me, Omar Rashawn Borja, the Burger Popper, coming at you early on a Wednesday morning, surprisingly, because I have the day off thanks to Juneteenth. And like I mentioned on a podcast I will be releasing in a few after I record this one. Anytime we have a holiday, you gotta look up the reason for the holiday. It's not just a day off. We have Juneteenth today, just a great holiday for the African American community here in America. And yeah, so just look it up and just, enjoy a moment of reverence and solitude when, just looking up Juneteenth and finding the true meaning. But all seriousness aside, I'm joined by a new guest. I'm joined by someone that I frequently interact with on Twitter. We got Justin of Updog Sports Talk. And I'm just excited for this podcast because he knows his stuff. We have many candid conversations across the timeline over various college football topics. So, Justin, thank you for joining early on this day off. And yeah, did I miss anything with your introduction?
No, that's great. I'm very excited to be here. Obviously, like you said, we've had very many candid conversations over the time. So it's just great to be on here.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I mean, I'm excited to talk to anyone that knows ball, anyone that can, I guess it just like knows ball like past a casual level. And I mean, I know you're in
Right.
Mac country, so I know that your knowledge is deep being in Mac country. Out there in I guess I know you're a Bowling Green grad, but you're in Southern Ohio. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Cincinnati.
Right, Cincinnati, of course, not just Southern Ohio, Cincinnati, the Southern Ohio city. So I mean, I'm
Well,
just
some
glad.
people think it's kind of like Kentucky, and I can see the argument for it.
I've heard about that because I think like Northern Kentucky, like their basketball program when their arena was being built like a couple years ago, they're playing home games at Cincinnati, which is like a weird concept.
Almost. It was the opposite way around. So Cincinnati was
Oh,
playing their home games in Northern Kentucky while their arena was getting redone.
okay.
Um, so like they're still playing games against Northern Kentucky as like part of the agreement. But
Oh,
yeah, it
wow.
was kind of an interesting situation.
Yeah, it is weird. Just like play your games in a whole nother state. I mean, I know like the geography is possible for that to happen, but I mean, it's funny you bring. I guess it's funny we brought that up because like New Mexico State during the pandemic season played games in Texas in the Sun Bowl, in the empty Sun Bowl. There are a couple of scrimmage games. So, yeah, it's just interesting that you brought that up. But we're here today to discuss a very tenuous, kind of controversial topic among college football fans: streaming, particularly Peacock. Peacock. There's their selection of games, and they have picked so far. I looked on their site; they have 9 Peacock exclusives per year, and they have let's see, one, two. I'm counting right now. One, two. They have 4 selections so far, so they have 5 more to go. But honestly, I gotta respect their strategy because they're like putting college football fans in a corner. With some of these selections, which like casual college football fans or fans who aren't Big Ten fans, they're more likely to not subscribe to Peacock. But I mean, it's at least they're making it tempting to subscribe for the college football fans that want to turn their nose away from Peacock, that want to stand up to greedy conference executives. I mean, with some of these games. So I mean, Justin, what are your thoughts on Peacock's strategy? And we'll start off with which of these games are you most aggravated is relegated to behind the paywall of Peacock?
Yeah, and I know even though like I'm a passionate college football fan, I am one of those people who is trying to turn away Peacock as much as possible, just because. And I honestly, I do subscribe to Peacock because the shows on there are really good. But I have YouTube TV, so I have the quad box every single week. So I can put on 4 games on one TV, 4 games on another TV. If I have to do Peacock, that's only 1 game versus 4. So usually, as someone who wants to take in as much as possible, I'm going to take the 4. Um, but what is most frustrating to me has got to be Boise State and Oregon being on there. I grew up in that era where Boise State was really, really good. And those Boise State Oregon duels were so much fun to watch. And now, we kind of get to live that nostalgia a little bit with this game happening this year. But instead of it being on TV, it's Boise State's only game of the year that's not on linear TV. So it's incredibly inconvenient for Boise State fans. And also, it's kind of buried away because if you were to look at the week 2 college football schedule, and if you want, I could read it off. I have it up here. Um, it is the most loaded after dark slate we've ever seen. It's just so it's kind of frustrating because yeah, we have that game kind of just carved out of the way.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, like you mentioned the nostalgia, like I know that Boise State has made their rounds playing Oregon State, Washington State, and like the other Pac-12 schools, but I honestly can't remember the last meeting against Oregon. Like I want to say that the last meeting was the punch with Byron Hout. I want or no, actually I'm sorry. I love bowl games. It was the 2017 Las
I
Vegas Bowl. But
I was gonna guess the 2014 Las Vegas Bowl, but I knew it was a Las Vegas Bowl either way.
yeah, I mean, so like I can't believe like we both forgot that. But I guess regular season meeting, I want to say like the last meeting was the punch. So it's just
Absolutely.
crazy. I think it also speaks to Boise State's kind of decline in the national radar, which is kind of sad to say. Like, I mean, I don't wish for any program's demise, really. Uh, but I think Boise State is now, I guess the Mountain West has become so has had so much parity recently that is not as much Boise State and the rest of the conference. It's just the Mountain West. Even though Boise State did win the conference, they did have their slip ups during the year, or the past couple years for that matter. 2022,
Yeah.
when they lost to UTEP inexplicably. I was at that game. An amazing game. And I mean, even I was so shocked that it happened. You know, I was rooting for the home team. I was so shocked that it happened. I mean, and then this past year in 2023, like they lost a few games, but still like won the
They
conference.
fired their coach in the middle of the year.
Right, that's right. They did fire Indianapolis, which I mean, I wish them all the best. But yeah, like it's just really sad to see their, I guess, thought of that way. Like, I mean, at their peak, they were on Saturday Night Football against Oregon State. Brent Musburger going like, you know, going
Right.
to the blue turf and everything. And then now they're relegated to behind a paywall against Oregon for that one. But that one should definitely be exciting because that one is definitely a has some level of of sticker value for both programs. The one that I'm most upset about is it's not Central Michigan, Illinois, even though I love Bert Emanuel Jr. Bert Emanuel Jr. is amazing and so fun to watch. I'm excited for that one. But Washington State, Washington, of course, the Apple Cup, where honestly, I really think that I think this was the Big Ten kicking the Pac-12 or the Pac-2 while they're down, and you know, just kind of gloating over the victory over, or not even victory, but the demise of their conference, and putting this one, you know, saying that hey, we can put your precious little rivalry as spare parts to us, and we'll put it behind a paywall. It's like we won't even yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that's a Big Ten's way. Maybe that's a sinister way of looking at it. But also, I think this is the NBC playing. On the other hand, which is more likely, you know, no nefarious intentions, but by the Big Ten. But I think this is NBC playing hard to get, really, where it's like
Yeah.
painting fans in the corners. A lot of fans want to see the Apple Cup, especially the first Apple Cup at the Seahawks Stadium, which I forget who is a corporate sponsor for that one at this point. Oh, Lumen Field,
Yeah.
Lumen Field.
Lumen.
I don't even know what Lumen is. Like I know it better as Quest or CenturyLink throughout my childhood, you know, and maybe I just never forgot about that. But yeah, like that one, Washington State, Washington, just like the rivalry and everything. The Apple Cup has produced some really good games with national implications in the past. I'm just disappointed because I understand what NBC's doing here. It's just the fact that I know what they're doing and they know what they're doing, you know, trying to get those subscribers. But yeah, that's one I'm most disappointed about. Which close second would be Boise State, Oregon, but in a way, like with that loaded after dark slate, which I forget which some of the games. I think Utah State, USC is one of them.
Yeah, Utah State and USC in Big Ten after dark. We have San Diego State, Oregon State, Arizona State, Mississippi State, New Mexico State, and Liberty.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Conference USA Championship rematch. And depending on what your definition of after dark is, I ran a poll and people said 9 o'clock and after is after dark. Northwestern and Duke.
Well, oh wait, Northwestern is playing a 9 p.m. kickoff, 9 p.m. Eastern
Yeah,
kickoff.
9 p.m.
Wow.
Eastern kick against Duke.
Oh man, that can't. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, I think After Dark is definitely 10 because if 9 o'clock is after dark for you, that's then you're struggling to watch the second half of Saturday Night Football of the 7:30 kick. Like
And don't get us started on the Hawaii test.
Yeah, like like you can't even comprehend the Hawaii test if 9 o'clock is after dark for you. So I think it'll always be 10. But I mean, with that like factored in, like yeah, that's really a loaded slate too and everything. I mean, you would think that without the Pac-12 there would be less inventory, but even Conference USA is being pulled in, which it would be cool if UTEP got an after dark slot too. Now that I think about it, really. But yeah, like it's just a loaded slate, and it's just a shame that Boise State, Oregon is away from all that, away from, you have to have a separate screen aside from the quad box if you don't have YouTube TV. Uh,
Right.
but I guess something else I wanted to discuss briefly with this is so week two, we have a Peacock doubleheader. We got Rhode Island at Minnesota. And for this one, Rhode Island fans might be shaking their fists, but honestly, playing the devil's advocate, of course, I'm not a Rhode Island fan, nor do I claim to be. Uh, if I'm a Rhode Island fan, I think I kind of, like that this is on a on a separate cheap streaming platform because Rhode Island is already on Flow Sports with the CAA, which is not a great platform. It's probably the reason why Richmond is leaving for the Patriot League, which is, it's either it could be very good for, Holy Cross fans like me, where, the Patriot League could probably get an at-large bid, or it could be very bad where Richmond could dominate the Patriot League every single year, which I'm expecting the latter, to be honest. But that being said, Rhode Island and CAA is on Flow Sports. I think this is like a win for them because you don't have to if you are just a diehard Rhode Island fan and not just a Rhode Island fan that loves, college football, which I mean may sound strange to say, but if you're just a diehard Rhode Island fan, you just have to subscribe to Flow Sports and then subscribe to Peacock for 1 month, for which is like I think like $5 or $6. Or if you subscribe now, which I mean, I was joking with you before the podcast, if you subscribe now, it's only $20 for the whole year. So if you use the other services for like, all the other months, like the Rhode Island game ends up being like $1, added to your Flow Sports subscription. So I want to know like your thoughts on, I guess, my logic. Am I dumb for thinking that, or is there some merit behind it? And then I know you wanted to dump on Flow Sports, so I'll give you the floor to do that.
Yeah, Flow Sports could potentially be causing a lot of problems for the CAA. I'm very curious. I don't think the Patriot League is done. I think they may attempt to raid more CAA teams. Maybe we could talk about which CAA teams we'd like to see join the Patriot League in a moment. But yeah, going back to this, I do think your logic is legit. If Rhode Island fans are specifically subscribing to stuff just to see their games, Peacock is not difficult for them to do.
Yeah, I agree. And then last year you had the Penn State Delaware game on Peacock as well. So it could have been the same thing for sure. Where Delaware fans are, I mean, if they are a diehard Delaware fan, like or they were, like they could have just subscribed to Peacock and been just fine with that. When it comes
Right.
to CAA teams that I guess that the Patriot League could poach, I think the Patriot League is looking just for football members, which I think is good because it kind of fills a void of a Yankee conference that would like the Yankee conference, the Atlantic 10 when they carried football. So I think with that, I think another program that they might want because they probably want private schools. I'd say Villanova. I think Villanova is one with a footprint, which I mean the only two public schools in the Patriot League, I guess it's full members, not counting football, are Army and Navy. And they're public federal institutions. So they're hardly public institutions, but I would think that Villanova would be up next because if you're Villanova, your biggest rival just left for Conference USA, it's like what incentive is there really to stay? Um, and
Yeah,
even then,
absolutely.
it's like they have less to lose, frankly. I mean, by leaving the CA because they're a football only member. And we get to see we would get to see Villanova versus Georgetown on the gridiron, which I don't think we've ever seen, at least not in my lifetime. Just bringing that Big East basketball rivalry to the gridiron. So I
Right.
would think Villanova is would be the next target. Plus, I mean, I guess Lafayette and Lehigh are kind of Philadelphia market, but I mean, you get more Philadelphia market presence from Villanova if you're the Patriot League.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Villanova is a completely perfect fit. That for sure makes the Patriot League a multi-bid league for sure.
Yes.
So it would be a no-brainer for them. I would definitely like to see that happen. I and obviously I've seen your stuff about the Yankee conference. I definitely would like to see that back. I think that would really help with Northeast football in general. It would be so much fun to see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're already like kind of, I guess we're kind of halfway there. We have like the Yankee Conference in pockets, like, or in spirit in some ways with the Patriot League, even though like only Richmond was ever a member of that conference. But the CAA with their Northeast core, I mean, they're the originals. They're the OGs of the Yankee Conference. There's just some Southern additions later on. And who would have thought programs like Campbell? Like Campbell started off as a Pioneer Football League program, and then they got roped in to the SoCon. No, not SoCon. They got roped in the Big South, and then now they're in the CAA. Like who would have thought something like that? So I mean, it's just all interesting. But yeah, I would love to see a preeminent Northeast Conference. If we cannot have it in FBS, let's have it in the FCS.
Agreed.
Yeah. So just going on to, I want to discuss about some of the programs that they have featured in these Peacock games this year. And well, I guess before that, I just want to like mention that looking at the press release that NBC put out for Peacock, they mentioned Max Brosmer's game last year against Rhode Island, how he's a New Hampshire transfer. So I liked it how they mentioned his roots at New Hampshire and just how he played last year against Rhode Island. Excuse me.
No worries.
But
But yeah, that's really cool.
but yeah, like so about these games, so two of the I think two of the schools that are playing, Illinois, Minnesota, they have, I'd say, less marketable, less intriguing I guess styles of play on offense than other schools in the Big Ten that casual fans would want to watch. I want to know if you do you think that would have played, do you think that played a factor in Peacock's selections of these two schools?
I think so a little bit. Because I mean, we don't know exactly what the pecking order is for the Big Ten, but we know that Peacock is somewhere towards the bottom. They got to get some of those early picks, the games that we complained about, Oregon, Boise State, and the Apple Cup. But then, at the end here, they're kind of left towards, the less desirable options. What teams don't play a desirable style, I mean, but the Illinois Central Michigan game, I think that one could be somewhat competitive, which is why they may have gone that one.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mentioned earlier Bert Emanuel Jr. Like it's just a shame that a lot of the country won't make their way to seeing him. It's not that they won't be able to see him because the games are always streamed and live, but it's like they won't make their way to see him until the midweek action. And that's where he had his like first big splash in 2022, like when he ran for like over 200 yards in a, I forget who it was against, but it was in a action game where he ran for 200 yards. But it's a shame where, I mean, Bert Emanuel could get him and Central Michigan some national attention, but it's behind Peacock. As for
Right.
um as for Minnesota, Rhode Island, I mean, it is an FCS game, so I don't really blame them there for getting that selection. It's just like I mean, it's also a shame too. I mean, as a running back enjoyer, I like Darius Taylor a lot, especially my eyes were open during his performance in the Quick Lane Bowl because that was amazing. That was classic. Classic Big
I
Ten
didn't.
running
I
back.
didn't like it so much.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm opening up sore wounds. I was rooting for Bowling Green. I was rooting for the MAC team in the Quick Lane Bowl, but yeah, like I mean, Darius Taylor was outstanding. He seems to be following that mold of like great Minnesota running backs like since the Jerry
Mhm.
Kill days. Like David Cobb is one I think of course, Mo Ibrahim, and then now Darius Taylor. So I mean, it's kind of a
Yeah.
shame that I mean he's behind a paywall. Like I mean, but it's just business, I guess.
Yep, just business. I do agree, though. I'm excited to see what he can do this year. His breakout in that game kind of reminds me of another time that Bowling Green was in the Quick Lane Bowl and victimized by a running back.
Okay.
You remember years ago when James Conner broke out against Bowling Green in the Quick Lane Bowl?
I do remember that. Yep, I
That's
do.
kind of what that performance reminds me of.
I know. I just opened up a bunch of like old wounds, and yeah, did not mean to do that, um, but yeah, like I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited for I guess the games on this list. Really, kind of disappointed that some of them won't be on linear TV because again, like if you're a college football fan getting a feel for the whole Saturday, you're gonna subscribe to YouTube TV, Fubo TV, Hulu TV, whatever your flavor is, you're gonna subscribe to that. But now this is an extra, $5 charge per se. And then I mean, and if you subscribe now, it's essentially $1 a month, and so I keep turning this into a Peacock ad, which is not my intention, but I just got to give everyone a heads up that if you're a football fan who wants to watch Rhode Island, Minnesota, that you can. But also something I guess before we sign off, something I wanted to touch on, which we're talking about this a little bit in our DM, is how this kind of feels like I've been watching a lot of the vintage college football final highlights on YouTube on this great channel SW561, which I'll definitely put in the link below because it's good stuff to have on the background, like during work, just looking and listening to college football final. But it kind of reminds me of growing up, like I guess when I was first becoming a college football fan. Growing up, like you didn't have the Big Ten Network. This is like the last couple years of college football where you didn't have the Big Ten Network, but you had the ESPN Plus local channel syndicated games. And so like watching those highlights and seeing the ESPN Plus on the corner of the scoreboard, it kind of brings back memories. And like these Peacock games kind of remind me of that, where it's like you would get these random non-conference games, like, in this case, Rhode Island, Minnesota, that maybe only a few stations in Minnesota end up carrying on local stations, but it's ESPN produced. I guess, do you feel the same way, the same sort of like nostalgia, like kind of a return, like I guess time being a flat circle and we're doing ESPN Plus, but in a different way?
Right. Yeah, it feels almost the exact same way. I mean, the only difference is, it's a little bit easier to see, but it is very similar. And, I know ESPN Plus is something that I'm getting into this year as a diehard college football fan. ESPN Plus is a great way to take in, FCS football each week and everything like that. Like, there's, like, that's only still like $5-10 a month, and that one you could take in so much college football with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do recommend if you have families or people that are close to you that are interested in Disney and Hulu, definitely get the bundle because yeah, it's only a couple more
That's what we're
dollars. Like
doing.
yeah, it's only a couple more dollars, and the only thing that's painful is them like your family constantly asking what's the password because you keep forgetting. So, uh, so that's the only recommendation there. But yeah, like I agree. I mean, it just seems like time's a flat circle, and it's like a lot of the videos I've like listened to while at work or listened to on the way to work is you know streaming is becoming like cable nowadays. Like I guess they realize that cable was the formula for success. And so they're just recreating cable, but through you can just access it through your laptop and mobile devices along with smart TVs. So that's just what it feels like. And I feel like
Agreed.
these Big Ten games are kind of the same way where it's like, I mean, they're like you have the ones that are behind a paywall and like the ones that I guess every now and then you get a game that has like value that makes people want to subscribe, which I think last year the two games that come to mind, like the Boise State Oregon game and the Apple Cup this year, the two games that come to mind for that from last year were Michigan State Washington and Iowa Northwestern at Wrigley Field, where it's like, really had college football fans thinking like, oh, maybe I should subscribe to Peacock. So yeah, Justin, thank you for joining. Do you have anything you want to add or promote? You want to, if you can promote your socials right now, I'll have them in the link in the in the bio below, description below, not bio.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure. Yeah, go ahead and give us a follow, Updog Sports Talk. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I think my buddy made a TikTok thing too. So, anywhere you could take in, social media, we're there. Actually, Threads still a thing, and we're on there. And YouTube as well. We've got some great content coming out soon. Give us a follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just love the conversation too. And I mean, if you reply to their tweets, like they will reply and they will discuss, like they will discuss college football with you. So it's just
Yeah,
great.
we always love to have college football discussions. It's just a fun part of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always love like seeing Twitter and just seeing like whether it's you guys or someone else like discussing something, like just taking a couple minutes from the computer at work and just like replying and just, engaging in the conversation because we're so close to the season and people just they just love talking
Right.
about the game. So yeah. Thank you, Justin, again for getting up early on your day off and everything, to discuss Peacock, paywalls, the CAA, Patriot League, what and every you name it, everything, almost everything was covered. And until next time, everyone, thank you for joining, for watching or listening. I'm the Burger Popper and peace, love, and soul.